tell me that you're doing fine.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is kind of an unplanned video because I was in the midst of making a video when I stumbled across this story and I really wanted to share it with you. So I was getting ready to do a video, and it'll be out probably tomorrow or Saturday, on 5 checklist things when coming into Thailand at the airport. And I came across this story, and it wasn't the first story that I've heard like this. It was the first time that I've actually had it verified, the story. So when you travel, hey, look, traveling, I've been traveling for decades and decades and decades for business and for pleasure. And, traveling when we were kids, whether, depending on what, as a kid to you, whether it's 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, was a whole different ball game than traveling now. I mean, I don't know about you, but as a kid, I got to go in the cockpit. I got wings. I even had one pilot open the door for me, and this was on a regional flight. He opened the door for me so I could watch him fly, and this, again, like I said, it was a regional flight, maybe an hour, 2 hours. So I could watch him fly the plane. And I wasn't a kid. I was probably a teenager or maybe even an adult. But it was amazing. Flying used to be, and I still think it is fun. However, with that being said, for us expats, flying is a long journey. I don't care if you're the Philippines, whether you're Thailand, whether you're Vietnam, unless you do layovers. I actually have a plan when I fly so that, it's not too harrowing, but it always is. My last trip back to America was, we're going on 2 years ago maybe. And door to door, it was close to 37 hours. And then I had to get up maybe 10 hours later and go to work after my 34, 37. I don't know. It was closer to 40 hours than it was to 30. And that's like an entire week of you being on the road with, layovers, dealing with luggage, dealing with everything that we deal with when we fly back to America and we fly to the Philippines or Thailand. Anyway, the story I'm telling you was about a gentleman who flew into Cebu Airport. And I've flown into Cebu too. I love the airport. It's new. It's very modern. It's beautiful. And then I actually stayed in an Airbnb not too far from the airport, and the view was gorgeous. Anyway, to get to the point of the story, get on with it. So my friend, a good friend, told me, we were talking about, what do you do when you check in? What's your thoughts when you arrive? What's your checklist, so to speak? And that's what the next video is on, is your checklist for arriving. And he's like, well, he told me, when I arrived in Thailand, blah, 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 blah. He said, however, I'm not allowed in the Philippines. And this is an expat who's maybe a little bit younger than us, not much. He's from the Midwest, American citizen. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because I always want to ask questions when people tell me something. I want to understand what they're saying. So his story, I want to say it was unique, but I heard it from one other person. But it was unique from people who I knew. And so I really dug into it. And we talked about it at length a couple of times. And I wanted to get him on the air and talk about it. However, once I get into the story, you'll understand why he shied away from that. So my friend arrived in Cebu after traveling all day. And I believe he was hopping around, and it was an international flight for him. So he had to go through immigration at Cebu. I think that's the story. And I actually checked my notes before I came on the air here. So anyway, he had been traveling, he'd been having a bad day, and then he came upon an immigration agent who was having a bad day. So let me tell you first about situational awareness. I am huge on situational awareness. And what does that mean? That means know what the hell is going around you. Know what, look what everybody else is doing. Is everybody putting their shoes outside? Is everybody doing this? Is everybody, when you're in the airport. I recently came into Thailand on my last trip, And I saw people. So when I get an immigration line, I actually look at the line, see how long it is, see what kind of people are in front of me. Is it, expats? Is it Japanese, Chinese? Is it Indian? Whatever. And I'm going to tell you why this makes a difference here in a minute. So I'm in line, and I would ask you that when you're in line in immigration, look at the people in front of you. Look at them when they come to the immigration officer. How is that immigration officer handling it? Is she having a bad day? Is he having a good day? What does he ask? When you come into Thailand, you put your hand, you do your fingerprints, you do your picture. And so I saw people doing that. And what I also saw was these older people. And perhaps they haven't traveled much. I try not to judge. However, they had zero situational awareness of what was going on. And this immigration agent, became so frustrated with this group of people that she wasn't quite yelling. However, her patience was wearing thin. She would ask them, all the people in the same party, to do the same thing. And they would come up there and they acted like they didn't see the people in front of them. And again, I'm not being judgy. I'm just saying, to make our lives easier, situational awareness. So when these older people came up to the immigration officer, her thread of patience wore thin. And so she kind of got snappy. So I knew that when I came up to her, I was going to have my P's and Q's ready. Put my palm down, put my other palm down, stand. I mean, there's literally feet that they say to stand on. And other people were just like, huh? So look around you, see what you're supposed to do. It'll make your life easier. And on situational awareness and traveling, I'll tell one more story. I went to college, I think I've told some of you, when I was in my 50s. It was a wonderful experience. I would suggest everyone do it if you can. And one of my dean of students was telling me a story. And I'm not going to get into that story yet, but I'm going to tell you this story with him. He was on mass transit and he had his iPhone out. And I'm telling you guys, when I travel, no matter where it's at, I normally only have one earbud in because I want to hear what's going on around me. I want to be, if somebody's walking up, running up to me or yelling me, hey, look out, I want to be able to hear it. So a lot of people don't do that. I would suggest you do it. He's at the front door of Bay Area Mass Transit, has his phone out, has his earbuds in, and he's right at the door. And he's a smart cat. So somebody walks past him, doink, takes his phone, and then runs off the train. And of course he ran after it, and of course he's my friend, and so he got in a fight and got beat. He didn't get beat up, but he definitely got some bruises, but he got his phone back. I don't recommend that. The point of the story is that situational awareness. Dude, if you're on a mass transit and it's packed, keep your phone, keep your iPod, keep your possessions tucked in your front pocket. And I'm not lecturing or anything. I'm just saying this is what I do. And that's what he did. He didn't do, excuse me. So he had his phone stolen. So how does this all tie back to situational awareness? When you're in line for immigration, is the line moving quick? Do they seem happy? What are they making you do? So know that when you get up to the line. So fast forward to my friend. So he's having a bad day. The immigration officer is having a bad day. He didn't notice. So he comes up to the immigration line and the immigration officer asks him a question. Well, my friend didn't really have a lot of thought into his answer and he kind of snapped at the guy. And then the immigration officer again said, I need this piece of information from you. And my friend said, no, you don't. And my friend is telling me this story and I'm just like, and I said to his face, I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? He's like, I wasn't thinking. So he got into a tiff with the immigration officer. The immigration officer calls his boss. The boss comes over and they powwow for a minute. And my friend's like, what's the deal? And the manager says, I'm sorry, Po. I'm sorry, sir. You're not being allowed into the country. And my friend was flabbergasted. He's like, what do you mean? Why? He's like, well, for rudeness. You were rude and aggressive to my agent. So you're being blacklisted. And my friend he wasn't devastated. he got right back on a plane and just went back to wherever he came from. I don't know if it was Thailand or where he came from. Again, he was an American expat. So further on in the story, he literally tries to come back a year later, and he's still blacklisted. So this has been going on for well over a year, and it was after COVID, and so we can't use COVID as an excuse for bad behavior anymore, as if we ever could then. So he's being told by immigration in the Philippines he has to get a lawyer. He has to get a lawyer and fight this. And I was both intrigued and sad for him. The bottom line of the story is situational awareness. You can be blacklisted for bad behavior. So I actually saw it from a group of, I'm trying to think, I don't even remember what denomination they were. They weren't Americans, but they just got up to that line and they thought they were entitled to treat this immigration officer. Look, they have hard jobs. They have to move thousands and thousands, millions of people a year, thousands of people a weeks, through these lines, and they have to look and check and double check. They have a hard job. I will give them that, and you need to give them space, respect probably the most, so that you too don't get blacklisted. And if you've heard other stories about expats getting blacklisted, now I heard a story about a famous actor that was blacklisted for just saying an inappropriate line on TV. And I don't know if it's true. I should have Googled it before I came here. However, Steve and I, we've talked about it and we've seen it with other expats. Look, if you're having a bad day, take a deep breath, let it out, and get over it. So with that, let me know your thoughts. This is Rich in Thailand. Thinking about you. Have a good year. Have a good week. Talk to you later.
Running low on the borderlines, and you tell me that you're doing fine. Morning color lights up, pulls you right on through the door. So hold on to all that feeds your soul. I know a place where the sun shines every day. So come with me, I'll take you there. I'll take you.